As someone who has read over 1,000 books in my lifetime, I think I'm pretty qualified to say what I would read to get myself out of a reading slump. I haven't had too many. Reading is my main hobby, it's what I do in my free time. But there have been times where I just haven't been as interested in reading, or I wasn't reading for a while and I wanted to get back into it, or I just read a bunch of books that weren't my favorite. So, this is what I would pick up if I were in a reading slump and wanting to get back into reading, or if I were maybe picking up reading for the first time. Now, you're never going to catch me hating on the romance genre or the romantasy genre. I read both pretty regularly. I'm writing what I guess could be considered a romantasy. It's Greek gods. So you tell me if you think that's romantasy. I think so. But either way, you're not going to find me hating on that genre, especially a genre that is primarily female readership, a lot of female authorship. I'm just not going to hate on it. Is there some like less than great writing in it? Sure, like all genres. But what I would do is I would pick up something, a romance that I enjoyed that has to do with like themes I enjoyed, or I just put my top romances from 2025 on my Substack in the margins with Mariah. There's a bunch of little cutie romances on there. They can be really quick reads, which is something you're going to find in a lot of my recommendations for the books to get out of a slump. They're going to be quicker reads. So for me, I am gay, so I love a cutie little LGBT romance. This one is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fall by Ashley Herring Blake. I read this a while ago, honestly. Very cute, very quick read. If this doesn't seem like a very short book to you, I promise that it is. This kind of like standard book size, I would say. Very, very quick read, cute, intriguing story. I have another LGBT forward book here. Both of these recommendations involve two women, but I know Heated Rivalry is huge right now. I did watch the show with my wife. I haven't read the books, so I'm very excited to pick those up. Usually I'm choosing a female main character or a female point of view, but this one is Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur. Again, very quick, cutie little read. Love that. When you're trying to get out of a slump or you're trying to start reading for the first time, you don't want to pick something that has a lot of heavy lifting in it. Again, these are going to be quick reads, things that are accessible, easy to jump into. So these two are romances. I think there's a bit of like spice in them, as is with most romances, but not, I wouldn't say it's overwhelming. I wouldn't say these are like smutty books or anything, spicy books. My next recommendation is one of those. So if you do want something like that to jump into, again, I'm not a hater. I'm right there with you, right? I have Twisted Games. This is book 2 by Anna Wong. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing Anna Wong. Again, whatever you want to read, whatever is going to get you reading. And if it's a smutty little romance, go for it. If it's something like the other two, which is a little more emotional, the relationship side, I would say, not that this isn't. There are many of the spicier books that do have a little bit more. Like this book I picked in particular because the slow burn lasts for several years, which is a favorite trope of mine. And if that word is new to you, trope, it's essentially the theme of the book, like enemies to lovers, a slow burn, um, daughter, like princess has to take over the kingdom or something, right? Think of like Disney princesses. Those are tropes. So if you're not sure what trope you enjoy, think about some of the books that you've read in the past and see if there's a main theme or something that the main character goes through in each of those books that you tend to enjoy. That's going to be a trope. And I would pick one that you like to jump back into reading for sure. All right, moving genres a little bit. This is definitely could be if you're just getting into reading. This would be definitely if you're in a slump, if you've been a reader before, something like this. This is a fantasy. So this is Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo. Lee Bardugo is incredible. There are authors like Lee Bardugo who just don't miss. You could pick up any of their books and you're probably going to have a good time. She also wrote Shadow and Bone series. I tend to enjoy a series as well. If you're looking to get out of a reading slump, I love standalone books, but I'm a huge series reader. I know I've heard recently a lot of readers, a lot of book talkers, booktubers are kind of moving away from series. I think there's a specific reason for that. That's not for this video, but I love a series. I love to read a series. So I would get into something like this. It is fantasy, it is relatively easy to follow along with. There are maps and definitions in the beginning. I also like a physical book for something like this because I like to be able to refer back. If you're getting into a fantasy style, I would say I just think the physical book is easier. I'm a physical book or an e-reader. I read with the library apps on my iPad. My wife is a big audiobook reader, so sometimes I'll give recommendations based on her listening. I don't personally listen to audiobooks very often. It's just an auditory thing for me. Nothing against it. I am not in the our audiobooks, real books, our audiobook listeners, real readers. That's not for me. I don't care. It's just an auditory processing thing for me. And I like to be able to flip back and refer things like that. So I would pick something like this if I were jumping back in a series so that I'm like wanting more. I'm gripped. This story has a lot of side characters. This story is so well written. I think Lee Bardugo, also being an incredible fantasy series writer, again, Shadow and Bone, the Six of Crows series, and then she does have a new one as well that I started reading, The Ninth House, I believe. She doesn't miss in her fantasy series. So you really can't go wrong with picking up a Lee Bardugo. If you're not sure where to start, you can't go wrong with Lee Bardugo. And then this is an easy one. I only have one example. I have a bunch in the other room. Our guest room is essentially also a library, but this is The Summer Storms by Sarah McLean. I wrote a review for this one on Substack. This is just a beach read. So you could Google or, look up however you tend to look things up. Look up beach reads. Something like this is going to come up. Something that, again, is like more of a standard book size. And it's something that you can, as the name says, quickly get through a day on the beach or on vacation. It's light. There's not a ton of depth. And that's not to knock the authors. There's not really supposed to be that much depth. You're not supposed to be crying, laughing, throwing up, right? Laughing for sure. This book was this book was so funny. The love interest, I think they fall in love within like a week. Perfect for a beach read, right? So something like that, something that's going to be a little bit lighter. The conflict is not incredibly intense. You don't have to, like with the Lee Bardugo, be like flipping back to the map, being like, where are these people from? What's going on? What conflict's happening? What's the definition here? You're going to be able to pick this up and read it right through within a couple of hours as well. And there's not going to be too much emotional work that these books ask you to do. So I have a couple books that I wouldn't recommend getting into, books that I love. We are a pretty much love only channel here. We're not really here to tear books down. This is like a vibes only. Did we enjoy it? Did we maybe not? And why wouldn't it be for me personally as a reader? Because someone is always going to enjoy the book, right? So we're not knocking anybody. Before we get into those, these are also going to be great to get into if you're I would say these are great for maybe male readers. I don't know. I also enjoy these. My dad enjoys these. Jack Reacher, I'm sure everyone's heard of him now. There is a TV show. There's been maybe two TV shows by Lee Child. Hugely, hugely popular. There's 1,000 of these books, right? It's like a spy type of novel. I think he is, right? My wife was reading these. This is great to get into, especially like if you want more of that male point of view or you like spy, secret agent type things, right? This is, again, quick. There's a million of these. You could get into them, get out of them. It's perfect. Similar, Steve Barry. This is the Warsaw Protocol. Again, Steve Barry. I prefer these, me personally, to the Lee Child Jack Reacher. This is very similar, though. This follows a former Justice Department agent, Cotton Malone. The reason I like the Steve Barry's a little bit more than maybe a Lee Child, Steve Barry ones have a little bit more science, a little bit more history. It's very much like Da Vinci Code without being so heavy and Da Vinci Code. Again, these are a little bit lighter, a little bit more action movie. I would say a little bit more like Marvel, you know? You can jump into one, jump out. The characters do all connect, but you don't have to read them in order. And each story pretty much wraps up within each book. So if you like a little bit more science, history, if you like the Da Vinci Code, you'll like Stephen Barry quite a bit. Another great Another great genre clearly is just your classic thriller. You can see the sticker from my favorite secondhand bookstore. But we have Lucy Foley, The Guest List. I have a Frida McFadden, hugely popular right now with the Housemaid series. I did see the movie. I liked it. It was good. This is The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. I think we have like all of these. This is Gillian McAllister, another great thriller writer. And another hugely popular favorite of my wife and I from the past year, Riley Sager. This is Final Girls. I really enjoyed this one. These types of thrillers, again, very standard book size. These can be read in a couple of hours, depending on how quickly you read. Oh, I see Karen Slaughter is on the back here recommending this book. Karen Slaughter is a little gruesome for me personally. If I were getting out of a reading slump or just picking it up for the first time, I might not pick up a Karen Slaughter. I might do that after I'm I'm back in it, right? I just saw her name on here and that just made me think of it. But these thrillers are great. Frida McFadden, like I said, Lucy Foley, Gillian McAllister, they are perfect to get through in a day or two. I like the twists and turns. Most of the time I can predict them, but not always. There's not a lot of like gruesomeness in them if you don't like reading that, or it's not something you want to read when you're getting back into reading, right? Maybe later, but not now. You just want something easy. Those are these books. They're great. They're very entertaining. Love them. They are well written. I think Frida McFadden's getting a little copy paste. That's probably the worst thing you're ever going to hear me say, but I hugely, hugely enjoy the books, and that's really what it's about. That's why I'm here. That's what my reviews are about. Did we enjoy it? Did we not? Hugely, hugely enjoyable. Riley Sager has a ton of books out. Frida does as well. I have a couple of Jillian and Lucy Foley, I'm not sure, but hugely popular. Love them, love them, love them. The books that I wouldn't necessarily recommend for this specific time, if I were looking to get out of a reading slump or I was looking to get into reading, these are some of my favorite books. There's my favorite book, maybe of all time. That might be Handmaid's Tale, but this is a very close. I could never pick a favorite book. I don't know about you. Having read over 1,000 books in my lifetime, I could I could barely get a top 10. I would have to break it down by genre, by year, by subgenre. Anyway, so first one is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I picked this one on purpose because I've seen it all over online. I've seen The Goldfinch. They made a movie about The Goldfinch a couple of years ago, and I've seen Donna Tartt as like an aesthetic come up recently. I like The Secret History. I'm due for a reread on it. I really do like it. This book is very dense. It is very academic. It asks the reader to do a lot of heavy lifting. It asks the reader to do a lot of analysis of the narrator, right? I love an unreliable narrator. I love it. Ever since I learned in high school about, maybe middle school, about an unreliable narrator with Nick from The Great Gatsby, I eat it up, right? A trope that I love, an unreliable narrator. I just wrote on my Substack about The Correspondent and if I think that Sybil is an unreliable narrator. But I think this book does um, way too much of that if you're looking to get out of a slump or looking to get into reading. This book was a slog even for me. This book took me a while to finish. To be fair, I was annotating it. I removed all my tabs, but it did take me a while. I fell off in the middle. I read kind of a quickie, cutie little book, and then I came back to it. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's supposed to be. That is the entire point of this book. And I think part of the themes of this book, what the characters are going through, I think it is supposed to feel like a Greek epic. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert if you know about a secret history, but or the secret history, excuse me. This is an excellent, excellent book. I would save it for a little bit down the road. I would read some quick, enjoyable, fun books before I jumped into something heavy and dense like The Secret History. Similar, I see this book being recommended a lot recently, which I was kind of surprised at. I read this book probably a decade ago or more. And I'm surprised to see it coming back around and being recommended. I think that's just the nature of reading and books like these that last, the test of time. But this is The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. Excuse me, Bulgakov. Probably killing it. Russian. This is a Russian satire. If you are not familiar with the genre of Russian satire, I am not surprised because who is, right? This is the only one that I have read of that genre. And this is a fever dream. This is an LSD trip. This is something that you have to pay attention to, similar to The Secret History. And it's a wild, wild book from start to finish. This is not something you just like pick up, right? Like we're back in Jesus' time with Pontius Pilate at one point. The devil is a cat. Like there's a lot going on here. Excellent, incredible book. I'm not surprised that it's being recommended. I'm not surprised that younger readers, I'm 33, I'm not surprised that younger readers in their early 20s are finding this and loving it, but it's a slog. It's it's something that you might want to leave for later, okay? So, last one is Fahrenheit 451. Mariah, that's crazy. You wouldn't recommend Fahrenheit 451, one of your favorite books of all time that you've read 1,000 times? No, not necessarily if I were getting out of a reading slump or starting to really get into reading for the first time. Fahrenheit 451 is a classic, incredible book. I also have George Orwell on my shelves. Handmaid's Tale is one of my favorite books. I have a tattoo commemorating it. And then obviously the show has come out too, which I haven't really seen, side note. But I also haven't seen this movie, Fahrenheit 451. I just rewatched Sinners the other night for Valentine's Day. And I forgot that Michael B. Jordan made this movie. So I'll have to watch it. But the reason I wouldn't necessarily read a classic, something like this, something like an Orwell, something like A Great Gatsby, something like A Handmaid's Tale, although I do love that book so much. There is so much, Animal Farm. A lot of these books are taught in high schools, I think on purpose, because there's so much social, cultural commentary going on in these books. The themes of these books are very timeless, I would say, but also heavy. I know 1984 by George Orwell is coming back around quite a bit with the concept of Big Brother, how censorship happens very slowly and through the work of ordinary people. Ordinary People, another great book. But these are heavy books. They don't seem like it. They're not very thick for the most part. I'm thinking of all the ones that I just named. They're all about this size. So they're not long books. They're not necessarily intellectually dense, like something like The Secret History might be, but they are thinkers and there are incredibly important themes going on in these books that you really have to pay attention to. So If you are maybe building a personal curriculum, I know that's really popular these days. That is when I would recommend something like this. If you were looking to get back after a slump, or if you were looking to get into reading for the first time, I don't think I would recommend building a personal curriculum with books like these. I would really stick towards something entertaining, honestly, because I don't think you're going to really understand what you like until you start reading and start branching out, but you have to like it, you have to enjoy it, you have to commit the time to it in the beginning. So I wouldn't focus on trying to get too academic, too intellectual right away at all. I would choose something like this if I were building a personal curriculum with some of the classics, like I said, the social, cultural commentary. This is one of my favorite books of all time. So is 1984, Handmaid's Tale, like I said. So I might read this after I read some books for entertainment, after I understood what I liked, after I started to be able to pick out some of my favorite things or recognize different common symbolism in books, for example, colors, names, settings, things like that, right? So then I would add something like this into my rotation. And again, this is one of my favorite books of all time. What I would say as like a caveat to that, because reading is so personal. It's so personal. It doesn't matter what I say. I'm giving you my opinion, but that's why we focus on, did we enjoy it? Did we not here? If I were getting into reading for the first time, okay, this is not for the slump readers. This is for getting into reading for the first time. And I liked movies and TV shows. I might do something like this first. I might watch the movie, or in terms of Handmaid's Tale, the show, Great Gatsby movie, great movie, incredible soundtrack with Leonardo DiCaprio. There's a bunch, Robert Redford as well, if you like more classic movies. I might watch the movies first and then pick up the books, or vice versa, try to read the book, then watch the movie. But I think that could be a really cool side by side. And if you already know that you like TV and film, watching one of these, like a Fahrenheit 451, and then reading it might be something that's really cool and interesting and help you pick up reading and get into it. All right, so those are some of my recommendations if I were in a reading slump or if I were starting to read for the first time. I'm always posting recommendations, reviews on my Substack, In the Margins with Mariah, and I will be posting every Monday in the Margins with Mariah. More things like this, more recommendations, and more reviews. So stick around, subscribe, like for more.